When foreigners hear that I live in Russia, the first thing they usually ask me is about
snow.
They imagine deep white winters, freezing temperatures, and snow everywhere all the time. But as a Filipina living in Russia, I've learned that snow depends wherever you live, in specific regions actually. And today, I want to share why snow in Russia, especially in the south, is often very different from what expats expect. Всем привет! Hello everyone! Welcome back to the Filipina in Russia. Let's do it together again. I'm a Filipina expat living here in Russia. And in this podcast, I share real life experience to the foreigners to help them better understand what are the daily lives here in Russia beyond stereotypes and headlines. One important thing that expats should really understand that Russia is large, actually extremely large, and eventually the climate change from region to region. So we live in Taganrog, Rostov-on Oblast, southern part of Russia, near the Sea of Azov. This is not Moscow, definitely not Siberia, which is a good thing. So basically, winters here are generally milder, windier, and sometimes unpredictable. As a Filipino expat living here in Russia, I honestly expect thick snow and freezing temperatures. Instead, I've experienced the first snow here. It was light, slightly wet, and not very deep. In southern Russia, snow can appear one day and disappear the next day. These geographic differences changes the snow entirely experience. So let's talk about how snow affects daily lives here. Well, looking around, obviously, when there is snow, life didn't stop. People still went to work, cars moved everywhere, children are still playing outside. For locals, basically snow is just normal. It's part of life. They're used to it. For foreigners, the adjustment is more practical than emotional. Just do some layering of your clothing, wearing proper winter shoes for you not to slide on the road. Third is walking carefully on icy sidewalks. These are small details but very important for us expats who lives here in Russia, especially from those expats who live in tropics countries, So let's talk about our first snowman, very learning experience. So on the first day of snow here, days before Novi God, the new year, we decided to build a house not a house, but a snowman together with our 5-year-old daughter. This was my daughter's first touch of the snow, and for me the second time around. Well, because the first one was in Sochi last October. Upon trying to build a snowman, we learned that the snow is not always easy to work with. Southern Russian snow tends to be more heavier and wetter, which make rolling snowballs more difficult. Our snowman was a bit uneven and worse, crooked. But that's normal. As I said, Southern Russian is different, so it's expected actually. For me, as a Filipino expat, this was a hands-on lesson in how climate really works here. Move on to the next. Children adapts more than adults. I guess in many ways, children's adaptations are quicker. So, to tell you as our experience, our daughter, again, who is 5 years old and half Filipina and half Russian, have no problem when it comes to adjusting. Even if our daughter slipped, laughed, got colds, and yet she still continues playing. Children don't overthink weather changes, they just adapt. That's it. As an expat mother living here in Russia, it reminds me that adults struggles more because we compare everything to what we are used to. Children, nah, they just do everything for experience. So why southern Russia is different for expats? Well, mainly because many foreigners focuses on major cities, capitals like Moscow and St. Petersburg. But places like Taganrog offers a very different lifestyle. Less extreme winters, a slow pace of life, and more regional Russian experience. So snow here doesn't last as long, which makes it feel more temporary and practical rather than overwhelming. For expats from warm countries like Philippines, southern Russia can be easier to adapt to. So if you're planning to visit Russia, just don't visit capital cities like again Moscow or St. Petersburg. Try to visit southern Russia, especially during winter. Less cold. Still cold, but less. So, thank you for listening to the Filipina in Russia podcast. I hope today's episode helped you understand life in Russia from an expat's point of view. If you enjoyed this video, please follow, share, and subscribe. It really means a lot for the podcast to grow. Spasibo for listening. I'll see you next time. Пока-пока.